Hey all, late night here. For the last 2 weekends, Respawn Entertainment has been running their pre-alpha tech test for the upcoming Titanfall 2. I've been playing it quite a bit, and after putting in a good number of hours, here are my first impressions. Remember, if you enjoy this video and want more gaming content, feel free to give me a like and a subscribe down below. Alright, well let's jump into it. Before even getting into gameplay, there were things on the title menu that stood out to me. First up, Titanfall 2 introduces a new social gaming system called Networks. At first glance, I figured this was Titanfall's way of renaming or rebranding the clan system that was present in so many other games. However, after playing around with it a little bit, I found it's a lot more akin to being part of a Facebook group or some other group in social media. As far as I could tell, you could concurrently belong to any number of networks, but at any given time have only one chosen active network. Each network had a variety of attributes that could be set by the network creator, which included things like mic preference, general language, or region, while there were also dynamic attributes of each network, such as number of members and net worth, which evolved as players continued to join and play. Also of note was an attribute called Happy Hour that each network had. All network members who would play the game during this 1 hour span with that network set as their active network would gain 5 additional merits per game as a reward for playing during Happy Hour. While I understand that this is a pre-alpha build of the game, this seemed like a really abusable system. Essentially, any player can browse the networks and find one that has a happy hour going on at their current time. Then, once that 1 hour span is ended, they're able to go and browse for another network which has a happy hour occurring at the next hour. By following this pattern for multiple hours of the day, they could essentially have a different network for each hour of the day during which they would be able to gain the happy hour bonus. I get that this is an early build of the game, but it seems like a really obvious exploit that I hope they patch up before the game goes to full release. Anyway, moving on from that, networks introduce an interesting way to implement a form of casual matchmaking. When choosing to begin matchmaking, you're able to choose Invite Network, which will send out an invite to the entirety of your network which is online, giving them approximately 10 seconds to accept the invite and join a group to be matchmade with. Assuming that the attributes set by the network creator are adhered to, this would create a fairly simple way for matchmaking to occur with like-minded players. While there was an Invite Friends option in the Play menu, it didn't seem to be fully implemented and wasn't selectable, thus making networks the only way to group up with and play with your friends during the alpha, which, to be honest, was kind of unwieldy. But the option was there, so I'm assuming it'll be fully implemented before launch. Next up, there was the customization menu. This allowed customization of your pilot and their loadout, as well as your Titan and its various attributes. The level of customization options available fairly parallel the first Titanfall game, though the arrangement of the presentation took a little bit of getting used to. Two major differences I did notice were that first, now you're forced to choose between an anti-Titan weapon and a sidearm, whereas you were able to choose both in the original game. And second, that your core appearance seems to be tied directly to your primary tactical ability rather than your primary weapon choice, as the first game did. There was a similar variety of weapons to the first game, with a few familiar weapon names and a few unfamiliar new ones. Each weapon had various unlockable mods that could be equipped on it, as well as different sights for your primary weapons. All weapons seem to have a very similar set of unlockable mods, however, including increased ammo capacity, faster reload time, or being able to fire while sprinting. Only the 2 sniper rifles seem to have a weapon-specific unlockable mod, ricocheting bullets. Hopefully this is an indication of other unlockable mods being weapon-specific in the full release. Something interesting to note, though, was that while each unlockable had its traditional requirements, such as usage or level requirement, each could also be purchased through the in-game currency, which was slowly earned through play. This seems to allow players to get those unlocks they really want ahead of time to develop and customize their playstyle. Moving on to Titan customization, there's quite a difference here as compared to what players were previously used to. In the first game, players were able to choose their chassis, primary weapon, and even put mods on those weapons, as well as choosing different abilities and ordnance for each of their Titans. In Titanfall 2, each Titan will already have a pre-designated chassis and weapon loadout. There are only 3 modifiable options on each Titan. The first is the Titan Kit, which affects the core functionality of the Titan. The second is the Titanfall Kit, which affects behavior when calling in your Titan. And the third looked to be a mod specific to the weapon loadout of your chosen Titan model. Only 2 Titan models were available during this tech test, the first being the Ion, which focused on laser and energy weapons, the second being Scorch, which, as the name suggests, focus on incendiary abilities. While these 2 were the only 2 available during the test, I understand there will be 6 different chassis available at release. Finally, under customization, there was a section called Armory. In the Armory, you were able to designate your boost, faction, and call sign, as well as check any incoming messages. Boosts are something new to Titanfall 2. Much like the first Titanfall, as you get kills and accomplish objectives during play, you slowly fill your gauge towards being able to call in your Titan. When your gauge is approximately 2/3 full, you earn the ability to trigger your selected boost. There were 2 available boosts during the tech tests. The first, Amped Weapons, is a familiar term to veteran Titanfall players. Triggering this boost will temporarily increase the damage output and performance of all of your equipped weapons. The second boost was called Ticks and allowed you to throw out 2 spider drones which would actively seek enemies and then detonate in their proximity. You were also able to select your faction, which, as far as I could tell, would consistently put you on the same team during multiplayer games. Under Callsign, you were able to select your banner and your patch. Your banner was a small graphic which represented you whenever you were called out for an accomplishment or an action during games, while the patch was an even smaller graphic which represented you in a more abbreviated fashion. Just like weapon mods, both of these could be unlocked via various levels or via in-game currency. And now onto a bit of gameplay. In the tech test, only 3 game modes were made available. The first was a 6v6 pilots-only deathmatch. I really didn't play too much of this mode because it removed the Titans, which are really the signature feature of this game. It was fun, fluid, and fast-paced, don't get me wrong, but it didn't really feel like Titanfall without giant machines stomping around on the battlefield. The next was Amped Hardpoint. Hardpoint is a traditional Titanfall game mode where 3 points are fought over in kind of a King of the Hill fashion. The third game mode was called Bounty Hunt, and is a new game mode introduced in Titanfall 2. It seems that the classic attrition game mode from the first Titanfall game is being removed, and I'm guessing Bounty Hunt is what they've come up with to replace it. Like attrition, Bounty Hunt has a high number of AI-controlled grunts, specters, and other units, but instead of being divided between the 2 teams the players are on, they're placed on a third non-aligned faction, which is being hunted by both player teams. This third faction continues to arrive in increasing waves, with each unit type being assigned a specific dollar value, which are earned by players when killing that unit. As players continue to defeat these AI units, they accumulate the associated bounty with each of these kills. Then at the end of each wave, players have the opportunity to deposit their accumulated bounties into one of 2 bank locations on the field, and only when these points are deposited do they count towards the total team score. Additionally, each time a player is killed, their non-deposited bounty value is halved, encouraging survival and frequent deposits. Personally, I had a lot of fun with this game mode. It was good to have AI on the field. It made it feel like the game was really populated, as opposed to the pilot-only modes, which felt kind of sparse, to be honest. It took a bit of time getting used to the strategy that went into the Bounty Hunt game mode, but once I got used to it, it was quite enjoyable. It wasn't until several games in that I realized that the 2 deposit points were the same for both teams, and it wasn't just the other team camping our deposit point. They were actually trying to make deposits of their own. Only 2 maps were made available during the tech test. The first was Forward Base Kodai, which was a large outdoor map with a lot of verticality and open spaces. The second was called Homestead, which had a lot more narrow spaces and hallways, greater for those close encounters. I found myself gravitating towards 2 primary weapons, the shotgun, called the Mastiff, and the Double Take, a double-barreled fast-firing sniper rifle. Both were really effective at killing AI grunts and specters, and pretty decent at fighting off other pilots as well. The trademark fast and free movement from Titanfall was definitely still there, as well as the epic feeling fighting alongside giant mechs. Titans still had their standard 2 modes, guard and follow, or you could board the Titan yourself and assume direct control. Something I didn't especially like, though, is that it would switch to a third-person view whenever you would embark or disembark from your Titan, which kind of took me out of the experience. I definitely preferred maintaining the first-person view as your Titan reached down to scoop you up and then placed you inside, and then watch the screens come online, rather than seeming to see it from an external view and then teleporting into the Titan to see those screens. The Titan gameplay felt solid though, with the new loadouts and weapons coming pretty quickly. Piloting a Titan felt adequately robust as well as damaging, being the prime choice to combat other Titans or maximize damage output on the battlefield. One fairly big change though, is that when your Titan reached critical damage, it didn't slowly decay over time as previously did in the other game. This oddly allowed you to remain on the battlefield almost indefinitely as long as you didn't take that final bit of damage, as opposed to forcing a tactical decision between ejecting and trying to put out a little bit more firepower.
Eject, eject, eject. Laser core ready. Ion laser core activated. Enemy pilot.
These changes aside though, this definitely felt like a very solid Titanfall experience. Speed and fluidity of movement was definitely still present, making pilots feel like badasses on a battlefield, while the thrill of piloting and fighting alongside giant mechs hasn't ebbed a bit. At the end of each game, players were shown a post-game stats screen, which showed accomplishments as well as their advancements with equipment and weapons. Instead of earning traditional experience points at the end of a match, however, players were awarded with merits. Advancing in total player level required slowly increasing numbers of merits to level up, with merits being awarded for match completions, match wins, good play, or proficiency with various weapons and equipment. And, as I mentioned earlier, completing a game during the happy hour of your active network will award 5 additional merits. The gap between levels didn't feel too big, and I'm sure the number of merits will definitely increase once you get into the higher levels, hopefully with additional powerful mods and equipment being unlocked at those higher levels to accompany it. Well, in conclusion, I had a lot of fun with this tech test. The original Titanfall laid a good solid foundation of gameplay and lore, and it seems that Titanfall 2 is just seeking to expand upon that base. I'm excited to see what additional mods, weapons, and customizations are going to be available once the full game hits retail, and we'll be keeping a close eye on development between now and the release date on March 11th. Well, that's pretty much it for now. Let me know in the comments if you played the tech test and if you enjoyed it or any other thoughts you might have, or hit me up on Twitter or Twitch for more gaming content. And I will catch you next time.